Have you ever wondered if the teachers in your children's public school classroom or the professors in their college lecture halls are leftists or conservatives? Wonder no more. On today's episode of The Vantage Point, I want to address that question. Based on some comments that I've received in the past, some viewers think that I'm just a white redneck with a semi-southern accent. Well, with all due respect, I am guilty of both of those labels. But I actually know a little bit about this subject, for I attended Detroit and Tennessee public schools and have earned degrees from 4 universities located in 3 states and the United Kingdom. I've served as a public school teacher, college professor, department head, dean, and chief academic officer. I've worked in both public and private higher education, including church-affiliated and highly secular varieties. I've also taught at the undergraduate and graduate levels in the United Kingdom and Switzerland. I told you these things so that you would know that I didn't fall off the tomato truck on my way to the studio. I am blessed to have worked in nearly all levels of public and private education that a fellow born out of wedlock and in Appalachian poverty could hope to experience. What a blessing, really. There are so many events that I would love to tell you about that show the evolution of the mindsets that prevail in our education system, but that would take hours. Consequently, I'll just focus on answering the question of the political leanings of the faculty and academic leaders in American education. I'll provide data and a few cases that I've observed that show those leanings, as well as the social and political philosophies behind them. I hope you'll join me. Let's start off with public school teachers in the K-12 system. K-12 refers to kindergarten through the 12th grade or high school graduation. In 2024, the Pew Research Center published the results of a study on the political affiliations of teachers and professors working in the United States. Some 58% of teachers in the public school system identify as Democrats or lean toward the party. 35% identify with or lean toward the Republican Party. A study released by Education Week in 2024 shows that suburban and urban teachers are more likely to identify as Democrat, while Republican identification is more common among teachers in rural areas. That shouldn't surprise anyone. Their political donations greatly favored the Democrats, even in red states, but keep in mind that red states have large urban areas that vote Democrat, and they have huge schools and equally large, well-paid faculties, notwithstanding complaints from teachers' unions about their paltry pay and benefits package. I guarantee you people working at McDonald's would love to have what the teachers get, especially on a 9-month contract. I found this observation to be true in Michigan, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. Yes, I've lived in all those states. Why, might you ask? Well, as a child of 4, at the age of 4, and together with my mom, stepfather, and 2 siblings, we climbed on board a Greyhound bus bound for Detroit. They claimed there were no jobs in East Tennessee, but that didn't erase the homesickness in my heart. I grew up, and because of my interests, I became a cultural and behavioral geographer. And for most of my life, I've had an internal battle between wanderlust and an attachment to my native southern Appalachia. A professor told me when I was a young graduate student in Kentucky that if I wanted to come back home, I had to go away for school and work, which I did. Along the way, I learned a lot about regional, national, and educational politics. Now, let's turn to college faculty. They're like public school teachers who have taken political steroids. Let me say at the outset that the most arrogant college faculty that I've ever met are working in community colleges and have only a master's degree. At any rate, Inside Higher Ed and Hanover Research published the results of a poll taken to determine the political leanings of college faculty that they conducted in October 2024 on the heels of the 2024 election that saw the return of Donald Trump. The study showed that 78% of college faculty supported Kamala Harris and 8% supported Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. A recent poll conducted by Forbes shows that 50.5% identified with being liberal, 30.4% as moderates, and only 11.4% described themselves as conservative. Note that these figures were published by 2 distinct organizations, and their results are statistically similar. I can tell you that from knowing thousands of teachers from all political leanings, they reveal their political philosophies in their classrooms. In the 1980s, those with leanings toward the left and the Democrat Party were transitioning the party of the working people, or working man, to the party of the aggrieved masses, in which tribalism was born. By the end of the 1990s, that transition was well underway among the grown students of the teachers who had taught them in the 1980s. Meanwhile, the reverse was true for those who adhered to national or traditional values, paid taxes, and wanted a voice in government. Whereas Republicans had appealed to the country club types, the Republican Party began to adopt a populist appeal, thanks in large measure to Ronald Reagan. Populism, you might note, it reached its highest levels with the election of Donald Trump in 2024. Because the left likes to use the label of fascist and Nazis to demean and diminish the arguments of their political opponents, I want to contrast that with the label of ethno-nationalism, which I believe characterizes their brand of tribalism. Fascism is based on the idea that a highly centralized government exerts autocratic power over society while stressing nationalistic and racial ideas to support its position. Ask yourself this question, though. What form of government did Germany have under Adolf Hitler? The real name of the Nazis was the National Socialist Workers' Party. Socialism is a highly centralized authoritarian government, and many members of the political left openly identify with being socialists. Now, ask yourself this question. Which of the two major parties in the United States stresses a desire for a limited government, and which party believes the government needs to fix every perceived cultural, environmental, and social problem? To fix all the alleged ills that confront us, the government has to be a highly centralized and authoritarian system. Finally, ask yourself which party ignores individual merit and differences and focuses on homogenizing the economic outcomes of the mosaic of ethnic and racial groups in the country. The left today is not really liberal as in the classic sense of liberalism. As a party that demands more power and control, as well as the treatment of each ethnic group as either privileged or oppressed, the modern version of the Democrat Party is in fact following a nuanced fascist movement. So, who's teaching your kids? It depends on where you are and at what level of institution your kids attend. If it's a college, they're most likely being taught by socialists. That's true for even many so-called church-affiliated and Christian colleges. Well, folks, that's about all I have for you today. I'd love to know what you think and what you've observed in your life. So please let me know in the comments section. And if you're interested, please subscribe to the channel. I read and answer every one of the comments. So thanks for joining me today. God bless you and yours. Bye-bye.